Hi, this is Jonathan with UNLV. Today we're going to be putting mounting rails onto the kit parts drive on OnShape. So last time we left off, we had a main sketch of the kit parts chassis with a top view. I'm going to create another part studio here, another document to have all of the mechanisms that I'm going to mount. So it's separate from the kit parts. That way it loads a little bit easier. First, I'm going to go to derive. I'm going to bring in the derived sketch for the kit parts. Mainly, I want that top mounting sketch. Then I'm going to use that top mounting sketch to be the sketch plane for the next components that I'm going to do. So I'm going to select that top plane. I'm going to create a new sketch. And then I'm going to create some rectangles right over where they are on that top view sketch. Add some constraints and then extrude. Then from here, I'm going to use the tube converter to convert them into tubes real quickly. So this requires you to have the tube converter tool. You could see it has evenly spaced holes, 1 inch spacing, and it's for a number 10 fastener. I'm going to go back to the main assembly that I created before, and then I'm going to go and look for the other file, the other document that I've just created. It's called Mounting Mech. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to drop this in. I had to create a version first before I could drop it in, and then as I update that assembly and I mount mechanisms to it in the separate document, when I update it in the top level assembly in the main robot file, all that stuff will be updated along with it. So this is me updating the mounting mechs file, going back to my kit parts, and then being able to drop that in to my assembly. There we go. So now I'm noticing that a couple of the holes are not super aligned. And so I realize that I need to start my whole pattern a 1/2 inch offset. So I'm going to change this starting pattern, put it 0.5. It's going to shift where that whole pattern starts. And then once I go back to my main sketch, I have to update it. So I update all. And then we see now that the holes are going to be aligned. So now if we need to put in a fastener, that's available there. So now I'm seeing that the gearbox has some interference there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to cut out a piece of that mounting rail to make clearance for the gearboxes. So I'm taking a few measurements to determine where I think those could be. Going back to my mounting mech document, and then I'm going to go to do a sketch on the side plane. I'm going to create just a general kind of just arcing shape. I'm going to mirror it across the center. Give it some dimensions. I'm going to put it 3/4 of an inch tall. Then I'm going to make it about 2 1/4 long. Make the top 1 1/2 long, and then mirror it across that center line. Then I'm going to remove that through all, making sure I select both of my mounting beams so that the modification happens to both of them. And then I'm going to create a version and then go back to my other document where my top level assembly is going to be. And I see update here, the cutouts. It looks like they're still barely interfering. So I'm going to go back to my mounting mechs file, go into that sketch, modify it to a whole inch, and create a version, go back to my top level assembly, update, and there we go. We have clearance, we have mounting, there's holes that will align to, so now we're ready to mount some mechanisms onto this piece. Now that we have that going, what we can also do is right click that piece and create a drawing, and this is something that you can do so that you could send it over to your fab shop. I'm going to do a front view and a side view just to define out like what type of piece I'm using, and then to try to call out where the modifications need to be made. I'm going to drop in a bottom and top view as well of that beam. So you could identify that it is a 1x2 by that cross section, and then we are going to start to define where the cutout's going to be. So I got my 1x2. I'm going to define the thickness. I've got 0.625. 32-inch piece. And then that cut starts at 13 3/4 inches, and it's a 1-inch cutout. And then that angle section is 3/4 inch long. So with this, you could start sketching out on a bar that you might have where to do your cutouts. I also want to know that hole size, hole spacing, and then where the hole pattern starts. So it's 201 hole, starts at 1/2 inch from the edge, and they're 1-inch spacing, both 1 inch in terms of the length of the tube, going down the length of the tube, and then 1 inch on the broad side as well. And then here you could add some named part number to whatever you need based on how your team functions. And that's it.